Hello and welcome to the IRN-CRU podcast, a podcast made in Scotland by NFL lovers. Tonight we are part of the preview crew. We're going to be doing a little bit of the review crew as well, but I am joined by two of the finest crew members, one excited for the weekend ahead, one disappointed by the weekend just past, unfortunately. But we'll start off with the excited one. So as you can see, I am joined by my rival this weekend and our very own Kilted Texan, Graham. How are we doing, Graham?
All right, Studs, not bad. Enemies for the weekend, I'm afraid. But I'm sure we'll get through the pod.
Nah, definitely. So all good banter, mate. All good banter.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, I am joined by a sad fan this weekend. I am joined by our very own resident Bucks fan, Ross. How are we doing, Ross?
We'll talk about it soon.
we'll give you time to fester and gather your thoughts.
Been festering all week, man.
No worries. As you said, we will come on to that soon because unfortunately we didn't have a review crew this week, so I do need to rip that band-aid with you, Ross, when we get to it. But as I said, so we'll start off with the review of the Super Wildcard Weekend, as it is known in the NFL. But I think if you were to give it a Scottish term, for the most part, I would probably label it the Dreich Wildcard Weekend. Quite a few kind of blowouts in the end up. So, Graham, I will come back to the Texans. We did have Saturday football with the Chargers and Texans, which I'll touch on. We had the Ravens absolutely blown out the Steelers 28-14. The running game just going absolutely wild, and Pittsburgh not really able to stop anything. We had a lively start for the Broncos, scoring the first 7 points, and then the Bills scoring the next 31 as well. Josh Allen and the Bills defence just going mental. We had the Eagles ravaging through the injury-riddled Packers, because it seemed like every time I looked up on this one that there was another Packers wide receiver getting injured or an offensive player getting injured. And the final one of the weekend was Sam Darnold's ghosts come back to haunt him in Arizona. We had the Rams defense absolutely teeing off on them for an amazing 9 sacks in a playoff game. The Rams seen them out 27-9. So we'll circle back round. Graham, coming to yourself. So kicking off Wildcard Weekend was your very own Texans in NRG Stadium, seeing away the Chargers 32-12. Absolutely ridiculous game if you're a Chargers fan. Justin Herbert throwing 4 interceptions in the end up. Derek Stingley Jr. getting multiple interceptions, which I know is a point that you touched on in the wildcard preview. You mentioned obviously about the turnover battle could be key. Early on, it looked like CJ Stroud was struggling, and the defence was really helping him out there. Give us your thoughts on the game then, Graham. So I'm not going to waste any more time on that. I will pass this on to you.
Yeah, quick summary. Like you said, the Texans offense seemed to start the way they've played all year. They've been a bit lackluster, not a lot going. Look, the Chargers had good opportunity to score big points early with that key turnover early on. But the defense had the bend, don't break mentality quite early. As the game went on, the defense grew into the game even more. But it was when the offense grew into the game for the Texans, that's when momentum really changed in the game. And you'll probably all agree it come from that muffed snap that flew past CJ. And, hey, that bounce up could have landed anywhere. But it happened to land in his hands, scrambled with his feet, and Hutch kept the play alive. When they look back at the replay, he didn't let the play die. So that led to the big gainer. And you really felt that not the life come out of the Chargers at that point, but the crowd really got behind it. You could hear the volume go up, and it was like a throwback to last season CJ Stroud. And another key point was how much he used his legs in the game. We haven't seen a lot of him taking off on his own this year. So I think once he added that element to it, it kind of rocked the Chargers and how they would cause pressure on that, because they weren't sure if he was going to come out of the pocket and that. But that defense, man, I did say it the turnover battle would be key. And I did say that when Herbert threw one, they could come in bunches, and he threw more in one game than he had all season. So all of this was key. And then Joe Mixon, his wheels were turning, and he could see out the game. So I think the Chargers were kind of shell-shocked at what the Texans did. No discredit to the Chargers, really good team, but a lot of conversations on whether Herbert is really the guy in the big moments. And what can you say? Texans did well for the Chargers being on a bye week.
No, definitely. As you said, I think what kind of really probably impressed me, I think, was Daniel Hunter and Will Anderson totally interchanging, causing all sorts of problems for two first round picks and Rashawn Slater and Joe, two guys that have probably been they've been a massive part of the Chargers' strength all season. Mm-hmm. They just absolutely bullied those guys. So yeah, it was, as I say, the defense really stepped up in the initial part of the game, and then obviously Nico Collins absolutely came to play, 122 yards overall. So Ross, coming to yourself obviously on this one as well, what was your kind of takeaways for this game?
It kind of just got out of hand. It slipped away for the Chargers. It was pretty bizarre because I was watching it and I was messaging one of my mates and I was like, this is dreadful. And I put it in the chat with you and I said, and you're like, it depends how you look at it. If the context, it's a great defensive show. And I said, that's not what the playoffs are about. Let's see touchdowns, shootouts. That was kind of the story the whole weekend. But like, I found it was pretty disappointing. But I did say, me and Gray were on another podcast last week just as guests. Mm-hmm. And I sided with the Texans because I wasn't sure. But I did feel the Chargers were here too early. And I think the Texans just having that bit of togetherness, maybe that extra year together with Stroud was enough. This Chiefs game, there's a reason that it's Chiefs-Texans early slot because that is going to be a honker.
That's our slot.
For an offensive fan, that's going to be a honker. But the game was all right. It was good. It was a wee bit. It was disappointing, but like I think the Texans D showed up that they were just there to disrupt. Don't give the Chargers any time to have a bit of rhythm. Don't let Justin Herbert get the picks were shocking as well. There was the one play where it was thrown for a pick, and then the next play it was thrown back for another pick, and I was like, do any of these teams actually want the ball?
Yeah. Is that on the Nickelodeon stream of it that Dora the Explorer came up and asked if any of the offenses needed a map to the end zone?
Brilliant. Honestly, the Nickelodeon podcast, the Nickelodeon streams of the game, I've never watched them. I always catch up on some of the clips. And to be fair, some of the clips are absolutely class. They do a very good job with the same, but as I say, it did get out of hand really early, and then just when Lad McConkey deserves a massive shout out. I mean, he was going absolutely nuts in this game. He was awesome, as you say, Graham. So again, a massive shout out to Lad McConkey in this one. But he couldn't do it all himself. And you look at that Chargers, and it was 187 yards for Lad McConkey, and the next one was Will Dissly with 16 yards. And you're just like, the guy needed some help in the biggest of occasions, and it just wasn't coming for him. And then just when you think the Chargers have got back into it, they then get the extra point conversion blocked. And
amazing.
That was just, honestly, it was car crash material.
Yeah, it's shocking.
Just watching Dicker try to spike the ball, and you're kind of like, what are you doing? Yeah. Just grab hold of it, take the hit.
Take the hit.
No, I mean, you're not going anywhere. You've got like three guys round about. You just deal with it. You're going to get hit here. But no, as I say, we'll not linger in this one much longer. It did get out of hand very, very quickly.
I feel like we're going to say that for a lot of these.
Yeah. I'm not going to go through them all because they were massively one-sided over the weekend. Now, Ross, Band-Aid's coming off. This was arguably the game of the weekend, though. If you're in neutral, I will caveat that it was the game of the weekend. If you're in neutral, you had two quarterbacks who have impressed us all year. There's no getting away from it. Laser Mayfield has been unreal for the most part of the year. Again, similar to CJ Stroud, he seemed to struggle early on with the Commanders. But there was one play when I was watching this which was just typified Baker, and it was almost as if the light switch went on, and it was when he trucked Bobby Wagner for that rush. As soon as he done that, it was as if the team went and galvanised behind them. Listen, guys, let's wake up. And again, they did. The Commanders started to find a bit of rhythm. The Bucks started to find a bit of rhythm. Mike Evans went absolutely nuts against a guy who he's struggled with throughout his career. And I think to say that he enjoyed his touchdowns and every single catch he made on Marshawn Lattimore would be an understatement. I don't think I've seen him celebrating those catches like that all year. He really enjoyed that right up until the finish. So, again, similar to Graham on this one, Ross, I am going to pass this on to you. Give us your thoughts.
I think the big statistic after the game was 7 drives Washington had, 0 punts.
Yeah.
They went for it on 4th down 3 times, converted twice. No, maybe 4 times and converted twice. I think we stopped them twice. It was just they were running that clock down the whole game. They were the time of possession. It was absolutely killing us. They didn't give us that chance to get a final drive, and they knew what they were doing. I still don't think there's a big catch for Terry McLaurin down the sideline, and I'm almost certain it just get missed. But if anyone had been actually clocking on it, he gets the money, lands it, but it ball bobbles on the ground. He's not got full control. It's the big one that I'm like, that was a bit of a game changer. The Baker fumble was a nightmare, but it's happened several times this season. I don't know if it's a rookie centre, Graham Barton, or Graham Barton as the Americans say. I don't know. I hate Graham as well, but I'm like, I should call him Graham because everyone else calls him Graham. It's Graham. That I don't know if it's just miscommunication. I don't know if it's a bad snap. It wasn't fun viewing. I mean, with the Evans-Lattimore, Evans won the battle, but Lattimore wins the war because he's going on to the next round at the end of the day. It is what it is. I'm disappointed it finished like that. We, as you say, until kind of Baker and the Bobby Wagner stuff, the exact same thing happened against the Saints in Week 18. We were slow, and then Baker ran for it, and he got clattered, and then the Saints boys were trying to kind of get it in his face, and that cheered the whole team up. I don't think that's not how you should be starting the game. You need to be at that level getting into it. I don't understand when you are this much of an offense and you're so talented and you're full of aggression. Baker throws one of the fastest passes in the league. He's incredible. You can't be starting with that kind of fire under your belly. I think there was another thing I was going to say. I can't even remember now. And a lot of people swear, obviously, the Todd Bowles doesn't come back. People are like, fire Todd Bowles, promote Liam Cohen. At the end of the day, this game was also lost because, in my offence, Liam Cohen has shown he is, pretty inexperienced as an offensive coordinator. There were a lot of designed Baker Mayfield scrambles. He was meant to scramble a lot of the times that he did get out of the pocket and gain yards. But Baker isn't a Lamar, he's not a Josh Allen, he's a tier or two below them. And he's great for scrambling to save a play, but to design it around him to find that pocket space, it doesn't really work unless it's like a necessity. And I don't think that's it. We should have been utilising Rashad Whitemore. The last 4 or 5 weeks, he's barely touched the ball, be it in receiving or for rushing. And Bucky Irvin had obviously a great game. One of the top 10 rushing yards in the league for overall, and especially for a rookie. I think he had the best numbers. So that's what it is. It's disappointing because I feel like a bit of excitement's gone for this weekend. But I'm sure there'll be good games in there.
Yeah, no, definitely. So that's me and Graham were actually just discussing that before you kind of come on, and the fact that it's always good to obviously have guys that are invested in the weekend a little bit because their team's still in it. Would have been great to see the Commanders. I think Bucks would have played the Eagles.
I'd love that.
Bucks would have still played the Eagles. Again, they've played them already this season. It was a good game. As you see, your offense has been unreal as well. So one of the few teams to beat the full strength Lions as well. So you guys were a threat in that NFC without a shadow of a doubt. Graham, I'm going to come to you, so we're going to jump on to the Commanders. We've spoke about the Bucks, fumble, possible inexperience for Graham Barton. Baker obviously taking that on his own shoulders as well, which again, sign a good leader. As I say, I think Baker's really matured in this Bucks offense. But moving on to the Commanders, Jaden Daniels, he did not look like a rookie at all in the playoffs. Other guys like Bo Nix, looked very much like a rookie. But Jaden Daniels was, for a rookie, unbelievable in this game. He's run to more or less ice the game, where the Bucks guys grabbed the towel and he's still running with the towel.
Kalijah Cansey. Kalijah thought he had him as well. I know for a fact, and he was certain he had him, and it was a heartbreaker.
Yeah. How excited are you to see the Commanders continue then, Graham? As I say, Daniels is looking good. Probably echoes a little bit of what you were seeing with Stroud last year. Just what do you think about the Commanders then?
Well, with the Commanders, isn't it funny just how mature he looked when he was under centre on the sidelines and that. Even like you seen how cool and collected he was after the doink field goal to win it. You know, he kind of looked like it was a certainty that they were going to win. He didn't get too overexcited. You know, it was almost like he was already locking in on next week, you know, in this week's games. But yeah, you've got I think earlier on in the season we were doing a pod and I might have mentioned, is there any point in them having a punter on their team?
Yeah,
because this is a team that has been renowned this season for using all four downs, like properly using all four downs. They just seem to be like, yeah, we're going to make it, and the design plays that they can give to Daniels to get that last maybe like 4th and 2, 4th and 3 or whatever. They keep drives alive and keep defenses on and keep them getting gassed and stuff. They just have this invincibility feel about them, like they can go in to anywhere and win any game, you know. And maybe that's a blind way to look at it, but it certainly seems to have been working for them most of the season. But you've got a feel for the Bucks. Like I'm you know, there's opportunities there, like we just mentioned at the end of the game. There was that opportunity to get Daniels down. I think, was there not another large play when Yaya Diaby got through on a sack and there was a flag thrown, and that would have been like a huge play at that point in time for the Bucks, you know. And sometimes little mistakes and flags like that can help teams through, and maybe they've just had a bit of rub of the green as well on that. And then even talking about the field goal making it, you know, they were talking about the width of that post, and you know, just millimeters the other way, and that's an overtime game. And the Bucks probably could have got their momentum back because their feet got taken out from under them a bit when Baker fumbled that ball. I felt just kind of knocked the stuffing out of them a wee bit. It took them a bit of time to rally after that, but I think if they'd been given the chance of overtime, they probably would have rallied enough to win the game. And when I knew you were coming on, Ross, I wasn't being mean, but I was trying to find like the donk noise so I could have like played it over the pot. But I was like, nah,
I've been hearing it. I've been hearing it all week as I'm falling asleep. Doing.
It's just one of those.
One of those things that really surprised me, I was watching live. I assume yous were in bed. I had booked a day off work after. When suddenly on 4th down, Quinn and Kingsbury start bringing in Marcus Mariota and Jaden Daniels together, I was like, well, this is completely thrown me. I was like, I don't know if they had prepared for that at all. And it happened several times. And that was, for me, the biggest shock. I didn't think they had that kind of play in them. I've not watched the Commanders games in full a lot this season. I've not watched them heavily. And that kind of surprised me. They were, listen, I'd love to see them.
Did Mariota not have a keeper on one of them?
Yeah, did I?
Yeah, Yeah,
One
he never even gave up.
Yep.
You know.
So
yeah, like.
On you go, mate.
No, sorry. I was just going to say that it's those instances, when you maybe haven't seen a team properly because you haven't really been focusing in on them. You don't know what their full bag of tricks is.
Yeah.
So when they come out, when you're watching them, you're like, yeah, you feel like you've been totally blindsided because you're like, I never knew they had that in the bag, but that might have been something that's kept them going on these fourth down plays all season. But you're just not aware of it.
No, definitely. Just if ever there's a time you kind of go into your bag of tricks, it is the playoffs. Let's be brutally honest, and I think we'll see that a lot more over the weekend. We're left with some very creative offensive minds, and we will, on that note, we will jump on to the divisional round. We'll leave the Bucks behind just as hang on. How many times was it, Ross? Was it 5? 5 times you fix it here. So we'll leave that one there and we'll move on to the divisional weekend. So obviously there's only one place to start. It is the Texans' regular slot when they're in the playoffs, as we've discussed. The Texans are travelling into Arrowhead to slay the beast, as I've heard multiple times this week. They're coming in to slay the beast at Arrowhead. We've got the Texans coming in to Kansas City. Graham, obviously, I will let you kick this one off. Being the visitor, it is Red Friday. I've got my customary red top on, as I always do throughout the NFL season on a Friday. I will let you kick off as the visitor and tell me, how are the Texans going to slay the beast, as we've heard all week?
Well, as you can see, I've got the game day prep on. I'm ready for it to go now. But no, to slay the beast, it's going to be tough. There's no denying it. There could be a few factors that we need to look at. Effectively, I think it's going to start in the trenches on both sides with this game. It's how you attack that. What we have to do is we have to pressure Mahomes as much as possible, but we have to get hands on him as well. And also, when we are pressuring him, we can't let him get outside the pocket like he's so infamous at doing, going on that little jogs of his, 3 fake slides, 15 yards later. That's all got to be stopped. We've got to keep him in front and just move him side to side, but make sure that when we are doing that, we're getting legal hands on him. Nothing that the 12th man can throw a flag, throw a flag for, But yeah, that's what we're gonna have to do. I think. Have you guys been having issues like with the offensive line?
Left tackle's been an issue all season. We've moved Joe Thuney from left guard to left tackle.
Yeah, so that's probably going to be a focal point of ours when we're getting the rush. We also can't let, like I seen it, like is it pick plays they would call it? I seen a footage of how you guys like to bunch up. And the way that you run your routes, it almost picks up all the defenders and that leaves one guy free, because it's running through traffic.
Yeah.
We've got to find a way to beat that, because that's what really ended us a few weeks ago when we played you in Arrowhead, was how you did those pick plays. On our side on offense, we have to get the run game established this time, like properly have to get it. We also have to give better protection. I think the O-line finished the game slightly better than they've played all season last week, but it's not the Chiefs' front line. Yeah, the Chargers have a very good pressure set, but like it's Jones, different monster. We've struggled with like defensive stunts all year. We have to find a way to battle that, and we can't rely on it being the Nico show. Because your backs are again different breed. You've got like former Texan Justin Reed back there. He's been a pretty solid contributor to the Chiefs since he's left us. So we need more production out of like your Dalton Schultz, obviously like John Mechie and Hutch and that. But I think it's all going to be one on either side of the trench. That's really where this battle is. And Ross is probably right. This could be a really defense heavy game, not for everyone. I absolutely love it. You know, I like nothing more than seeing quarterbacks getting smashed about, and I like nothing more than seeing picks. You know, they're actually better for me than the big bombers downfield to the wide receiver. I love seeing the ball getting picked off and you see it going back 60 yards the other way. There's nothing like it. So yeah, it's gonna be tough. Conditions will obviously favour the Chiefs being outside in the cold. I think Houston's had a cold front run through there, and it's been a lot colder there. So it's slight prep, not going to be the temperatures that we're going to see, but yeah, I think it's going to be that kind of game.
Yeah, I think that they're saying, I'm just looking here just now on ESPN, it's saying -3 is the expected game time weather. So I definitely pretty chilly. Certainly if you're coming from Texas, I would imagine up to Arrowhead. But again, a lot of the points you've kind of touched on it, and you're mentioning obviously guys like Chris Jones. That's the defensive front in there. We'll get Chris Jones and George Karlaftis on there. So I'm definitely looking at those defensive guys and thinking they're the guys I want to see go nuts. So I do agree with you. Chris Jones is obviously an absolute beast for ourselves on the defensive line. I think the coverage he picks up from your offensive line is going to free guys like Karlaftis up, and we're going to, again, I think you're going to see Spags dial some interesting looks up for CJ Stroud, as he's known to do in the playoffs as well. So from our side, you did make me chuckle. I was wondering how long before we got the 12th man reference. I think you lasted 1 minute, Graham, to be honest, before
I was going to start with it, to be honest.
Hopefully, I must admit, I'm hoping the refs aren't a factor and there isn't anything that can be debated, to be honest. Listen, you want to play these games, you don't want to see the refs get involved. Unfortunately, they are part of the game, so we will inevitably see a flag for something that will dispute at some stage. There's no getting away from that. For me, I'm looking at it, and again, you mentioned our left tackle situation. Joe Thuney is undersized from a left tackle perspective. He's one of the best in the league at left guard. He really is. The guy's an absolute dog. But what I do like from Thuney is the fact that it's certainly steadied our ship on that left side, him stepping out to left guard. I don't think we've seen, I need to go back and check our schedule, but I don't think we've seen a defensive end set like Hunter and Anderson. And that's the key for me. Can we stop these guys? You said give Mahomes that time, let him do his magic, his playoff runs on his bum ankle. Can we get those kind of things? Like a couple of years ago we seen against the Titans where he's sprinting down that sideline and rushing it in from like 30 plus yards, things like that. Those are the things I want to see. The one I want to see, and again I found it an interesting start when I was watching NFL Good Morning Football this morning, was Isaiah Pacheco. This guy has got, in his seasons with the Chiefs, he's got 7 games with seven playoff games with over 75 yards rushing, or 77 yards rushing, I think it was, to be exact. But he's up there with some very elite company in the playoffs. I think Franco Harris is maybe sitting on 9, I think, at number 1. He's the guy I want to see get going. No worrying about Xavier Worthy. We're going to manufacture touches for him. Hopkins is going to get his plays on the 3rd and short, where he's going to get us over the line to get that first down. I want to see Isaiah Pacheco. I would love to see Hopkins get a ring, purely because the guy has been an unbelievable wide receiver in the league. Obviously, the fact, not even just the fact he's playing for the Chiefs, it's just the fact that there's certain nice guys in the league. He's so close to his mum and things like that, and everything he does, he's always talking about his mum. It's things like that. He just seems like a nice guy in the league. So I would like to see somebody like that, similar to like Larry Fitzgerald when he played with the Cardinals. It's a guy you were rooting for. You wanted to see him get that ring. I think Hopkins is the same. But again, Ross, I will bring you in this as well. You mentioned you think it's going to be a bit of a war fest for the neutral. Me and Graham are obviously looking forward to seeing what these fronts in the trenches can do for our teams or against the other team. Where do you see this one going?
I was just thinking about you know how all season and kind of a lot of his career, Mahomes has done that thing where he breaks out of the pocket and he'll hug the sideline and then he'll just step out of bounds just before he gets tackled. And a lot of times the defense won't even make that tackle. I think the Texans are the type of guys who will make that tackle because they're like, listen, I know he's a quarterback, I know he's a prized possession for the league, but at the end of the day, nobody else is doing it. This is big time in the playoffs. So I will be intrigued to see if he does that once and he gets a big, I don't think he'll do it again. I think he'll slide rather than doing that and getting those extra 5-6 yards by going doing it instead of it. I don't really know how I see it going, to be honest. Graham, do you think if yous play the same as last week, that's going to be enough to win?
Yeah.
You think last week's performance is enough to beat the Chiefs?
Yeah, after the fumble.
No, the whole game. Because if you
caveat, get the asterisks in there.
No, whole game.
You know something? If we play the same way we did and we could limit the Chiefs to 6 points playing the way we did at the start, like we did the Chargers, I don't see why not. My own, but if we do get up, we can't let off. Not like 5 years ago. We were talking about that. You know, you've got to put your foot on their throat this time and not let them back in because they've obviously done it to us before. Why can't they do it again? But I think so. Especially the way the defense played. You know, the defense potentially could have put up more points than they did. So, yeah, I think so. I may be clutching there, but I think so.
I think last week when I predicted all of my playoffs when we were guessing Andy's pod, I think the only 2 games I got right were the Houston Texans and... No, I think I got every other one wrong, actually. I got every other game wrong. So, and I feel like this is my shot. Are we doing predictions or are you waiting?
So you better pick us again. Huh?
We'll do predictions, right? So, Graham, again, I don't really feel like I need to ask this, but who's winning this game for you?
Houston.
You're going with the Texans. Obviously, shock.
24-17.
I'm going to go with the Chiefs. I'm just hoping we don't give you a 24-0 head start this time, I will be honest. I did see a few things where people were saying getting Dirty Dan back to bang the drum before the game, which I don't know who is banging the drum. I think that would be hilarious if we got Dan Sorensen back to bang the drum because he made one of the biggest plays in that game. Obviously, I'm going for the Chiefs. I think McDuffie's going to lock down Nico Collins because he's done it to every other wide receiver this season. One of the kind of under the radar ones, I think Jay Watson's questionable for this one. He's back off IR. He's our other kind of cornerback who's been excellent for us. So I think him coming back is a massive piece of that Spags defense. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Chiefs on this one. I'll go 27-17. I'll go with a 10-point gap. I'll get, not often we do it, but I'm going to get us covering the spread on this one. Ross, you've got the deciding vote. Where are we going?
I think there's a reason they're a dynasty. I think it's going to be the Chiefs. I'm sorry, and I don't like saying that either, by the way. I just feel like it would be really gutting, and I feel like the Texans have been the most glamorous team all season. They were in a very poor division. If they end up in that title match, I will be gutted because I'd rather see the Chiefs, because I think the Chiefs will give either the Bills or the Ravens a much harder game in that than the Texans would, in my opinion. I'm going to say 22-13, very low scoring, in context. 22-13 to the Chiefs.
No, I'll caveat that one for you, Graham, to make you feel better. Bear in mind, they got a lot wrong last week on that one.
Well, I'll say in defence, we were talking about the refs. I can't remember the ref that's leading this crew, but the Chiefs are 6-0 when he's been reffing.
Yeah, but also, and the Kansas City Chiefs' last 18 games, they have played in this time slot twice, and they have lost both times, and they've played in other time slots 16 times and won 16. So this is a time slot that they don't perform well at. So that
And we all
balances
know
that
this
up.
is Texans time.
Texans time, baby.
It's the Texans post-season slot.
Yeah, it's ours.
Right, so we will obviously be dialed into that one. If the Chiefs are losing, Graham, I will not respond to you. I'll be honest to that one.
Hey, I won't say nothing until it goes all zeros.
So, right, we will move on then, guys. Right, so we're going to continue on with our divisional weekend. Moving on to the guys that go for it in fourth down almost every single time without fail. I think a lot of people are talking about one of the later games as being one of the games of the weekend. I think this could steal the show for the weekend for me. We've got the Commanders travelling up to Detroit to play the Lions. Obviously, it's in a dome, so we can take out that weather factor. We don't need to worry about it. You've got the Dominator and Jared Goff going against the rookie and Jaden Daniels, Mr. Unflappable himself. Forget Mr. Irrelevant. He's done. He's out of the playoffs. We've got Mr. Unflappable and Jaden Daniels. Ross, I left you in the last one. NFC teams. Obviously, you've seen a lot of the Commanders last week. You've seen the Lions earlier in the season when I mentioned the Bucs obviously beat them. Talk to me about this game. What are you looking forward to in this game?
Lions running game. I think, I'll be honest, I didn't think the Commanders were great at stopping the run against us, and we could have ran a lot more. So I think looking forward to seeing Montgomery's back. I didn't expect it. So Montgomery's back. Gibbs, they'll be rotating, probably Gibbs leading. I'd imagine Montgomery's not 100%. I'm looking forward to seeing how Daniels does, because this is high pressure. Like, I was looking up, a rookie's obviously never won the Super Bowl. He's only a couple of games away from doing the unthinkable. I don't think they've got the receiving unit for it. I don't see. They've got Zach Ertz, Zacchaeus, Terry McLaurin, who I think's been unbelievable this season. A couple of other boys, Diami Brown and that. I just don't think they've got the receiving unit. I'm looking forward to the Lions being refreshed and they've had a week off. And obviously, it's just... I can only see it going one way, but like I could also, this could remind me a bit of that the Bengals Raven kind of style where it's just shooting out. Again, I said this for every game last week, and then none of them were shootouts basically. But I could really see I could really see kind of 60, 70 points in this one. As you say, I think there'll be a lot of deep balls to McLaurin. I don't think the Commanders will be phased by having to do that again, going for it in fourth down. It's just it's Dan Campbell, because remember he got a lot of flack after the San Francisco game. He went for it in a couple of fourth downs instead of going for the field goal, and they lost by a field goal. So is he going to adapt his style? Is he going to sit in that gun hole? I said the whole season, his emotions and his hot head are what could be the undoing of the Lions. So if it looks like maybe they could kick a field goal and it goes for it in fourth and it costs them, the owners will be very delighted with the season, but they'll go, listen, we should be in that title game, and then we should probably be in the Super Bowl. So I'm looking forward to seeing the running game. I'm looking forward to seeing Goff firing that ball back to Laporta, St. Brown, everybody. I think Khalif Raymond's still injured. Jameson. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm gutted that's the 1 a.m. game because I'm working Sunday, so I'll probably miss the second half, but I'll stay up for the first and hopefully it's good.
Yeah. No, as you mentioned just before I come to you in this one, Graham, obviously you're talking about that. You look at that receiving core. Jameson Williams has broke out this year. Amon-Ra St. Brown's solidified himself and then some as one of the league's top receivers. Jahmyr Gibbs has been unreal. David Montgomery been off the injured report. It's something that no one saw coming.
No.
Obviously, flipping that round. Brian Robinson Jr.'s had an excellent season for the Commanders. Very quiet against the Bucs. Terry McLaurin, probably similar to what I said about DeAndre Hopkins, he's just one of these kind of nice guys. His interview after the Bucs game, you're listening to what he's saying. Yeah, what he's been through, he has the talent to be up there with the top receivers. but he just seems to have had a bum deal in terms of what he's had to deal with quarterbacks. He's fully behind Jayden Daniels. From your side, Graham, can you see the Commanders causing the upset here, or do you think this is really, even without, we've spoke about the exhaustive injury list of the Lions, we know that they're banged up, or is this really the Lions are going to see off the Commanders and step back into that championship game again?
Well, isn't it funny, like, we're talking about the pressure on the Commanders going up to the Lions, but is there not a lot of pressure on the Lions performing in this game, because this is the first time in franchise history they've been the number 1 seed? So with that comes an air of overconfidence, maybe. Like, I think there was a statement, was it after the Vikings-Lions game, did Dan Campbell not turn around and say, we'll see you in a couple of weeks?
Yeah.
You know, like, there's that overconfidence that, yeah, we're like I said it in the past week, like the NFC North was like the place that nobody wanted to go. Now there's only one of them left. So what do the Commanders really have to lose going up here and playing their game? Now, if, like Ross says, they do what they did in the Bucks game and they can keep Goff, Gibbs and all that, St. Brown off the field by time of possession, it doesn't really matter how good they are. If they're not on the field, they can't cause you issue. And because they like to go for it on 4th down, does that tempt Campbell into going for it on 4th himself? Because they've had so little time on the field. You know, there's all these little nuances in the game that you have to be wary of. And I think the Commanders' prep this week will have been pretty much like, everyone thinks we're done. There's no pressure on you guys. You know, we've had a good run. We can continue to keep this run going if we just execute. Forget everyone else. We just execute our game and see where it takes us. So, yeah, I can see, because the Lions are such heavy favourites, I can see there being the potential here for an upset. You know, why not?
No, I totally see where you're coming from in that one. There is always an upset, and I think particularly when you get to the divisional round, I think there's teams just, obviously you get wildcard weekend, someone can come for that 7th seed and go all the way through. Right? We've seen it with the Packers, I think last year, had a great run and then eventually seen off by the 49ers. So I think there is always that possibility. I think obviously divisional round teams are probably a bit closer matched as such. But yeah, I think the word you used there, the subtle nuances, Graham, is what's fascinating me about this game as well. I actually wouldn't be surprised if you get cameras on Quinn and Campbell on either side's 4th down, and it's almost as if the other one looking at the other one going, I dare you to go for it in 4th and 6, 4th and 7, I dare you to try it. That kind of thing, just kind of almost egging each other on a little bit. And as you say, time of possession in that front's going to be key. If Jahmyr Gibbs is going off and keeping Jayden Daniels on the sideline, does that make Dan Quinn a bit more susceptible to it? Or if the Commanders are really keeping Jared Goff, I don't think anybody denies the fact that he's somebody that likes to get into a rhythm, likes to get onto the field, and I think that's when you see the best out of Jared Goff. So, as you say, if the Commanders control that time of possession, then do you see them maybe taking a little bit more risks on 4th down from a Lions perspective? I do think this will be fascinating, as I said, and I think it's got all the elements to steal the show for the weekend. So on that note, then we will get our predictions in. So Ross, you got the last pick the last time, so to break the tie, I'm going to come to you first in this one. Lions or Commanders, where are we going?
Goodness. 36-33 to the Lions.
Going with the Lions, right?
Field goal
winner, walk-off field goal.
Yep.
Right, so moving on to you then, Graham. You mentioned you think you could see a potential upset. Are you going to back that upset in the Commanders?
Yeah, well, why not? Wear my heart on my sleeve. You said the Bucks beat the Lions earlier in the season. Texans ran them really close. I've seen that teams, if they can get after them, can win. Commanders are that kind of team, so I'm going to go 29-26 Commanders.
Oh,
There you
another
go.
3-point
I'll go with
difference.
Commanders.
So, right, my wee boy is a massive fan of Sonic, so he would love the Lions purely because they've got a running back duo called Sonic and Knuckles. I think if you had a fully fit David Montgomery, I think it'd be a different prospect. I think I'm going to go for the upset as well. I think I'm going to go the Commanders to steal it.
Love it.
And do you know what? I just think you're getting to the stage where I think injuries really, really hurt a team, especially your kind of first team guys. The Lions have managed to push through to this stage. I think it's just, and I do think they're very much almost, because they're more than likely going to lose their defensive and offensive coordinators. I think they are very much a Super Bowl or bust team. And I do think that there's going to be a fourth down that absolutely kills Dan Campbell in this one. I will go, let me think of this, I'll go 31-28 to the Commanders. I think it will be close, but I think we're going to get a little bit of this as we walk on, a little bit of the hair getting fixed again about 7 or 8 times. Don't think it'll be a doink because we're obviously in a dome. So I think it'll be a nice clean hit. What is it, Zane Gonzalez, I think is the kicker.
Zane Gonzalez, I can't believe you are just discounting the Lions here. There's a reason they're the 1 seed and they're also at home in that atmosphere, and they're just like that. I can't believe you both went for Commanders.
I know. Listen, again,
that's because you're scared. Both of you are scared that you would have to face the Lions. That's why.
Listen,
I would made it to the Super Bowl.
I would love to see a repeat. Week 1 last year, Chiefs versus Lions. I'm not going to lie, and I think I've actually picked that in my predictor for the start. I think I had the Chiefs v the Lions, albeit I got a few wrong last week, but I've still kept that as my Super Bowl. But I don't know. There's just something about the Commanders. I think they're going to sneak this one. Right. Moving on to our Sunday games, and again, I do love this part of the season because we get the Saturday games. They're at decent times for us. Obviously, we've got Chiefs Texans 9:30 in the UK, Commanders Lions, albeit 1 o'clock. But I'm refereeing on Sunday, but it's later on, so I can sit and watch that one. I've not got any early morning kids football where I need to be up at Ravenscraig at like 9 in the morning for the kids, so I can watch this one. Then we go on to Sunday. We've got 2 more games. We've got the Rams at the Eagles. Obviously, the Rams' defense is what everyone is gushing over after that Vikings game. We had the Superfly Jimmy Snooker splash for Jared Verse on Sam Darnold after the sack, which everyone is talking about, and wondering why there wasn't a flag. I thought that was great fun. I must admit, I would have been so gutted if I seen a flag on that play on Jared Verse because I just thought it was hilarious. It is a young Rams defense that really has absolutely zero cares. There are a lot of rookies in there. They do not care who they're up against. They've not got that respect for guys in the league. You've then flip it around again. I'm going to stick with defense as well. You've got an Eagles defense which has been unreal for this season. You've got guys like Carter, obviously Nakobe Dean, I think is going to be a massive loss for the Eagles. You've got Cooper DeJean, whatever you want to call him, a white cornerback for whatever reason. He just seems to have been unreal. We don't see a lot of white cornerbacks playing at this kind of level. Graham, start with you. Rams at Eagles. Give me your thoughts.
Well, I think when I was talking about the Rams last week, I actually didn't give them much of a chance. I didn't think they'd been necessarily good all season. Kind of stumbled their way into the playoffs. Really shocked me up with how they played against the Vikings last week. Really did a number on what I thought was a very impressive team. Although I can't look past this Eagles D. I think the Eagles D is the number one D still left in the playoffs. Tie that with such a powerful running game in the way that Barkley's been running the ball this year. And if the Rams, as good as their defense was last week, if they can't, was it week 1 when they met and Barkley went on 255 yards or something?
I don't think it was week 1. Week 1 was the Brazil game, but it was.
Yeah. Okay, sorry.
It was early.
Yeah, it was early on. If he can even match anything near that, then the Rams are in trouble. So yeah, I'm just as much as I actually prefer the Rams as a team. I'm not a huge massive fan of the Eagles or some of their coaching staff or anything like that, but by the by, they are a very good unit. So yeah, I heavily favour the Eagles in this one, in this game. And if they can't stop that running game and the defense gets to tee off like they've been doing all year, it's going to be a long day for the Rams.
No, definitely. I think Barkley is going to be. I think he's going to be the key in this game. I would 100% agree with you. I dare say Ross would be the same on this one. Ross, where's your thought? Oh no, he's shaking his head. Barkley's not going to be key, right? Tell us the keys then, Ross. Where are we going in this one? Give us your key thoughts.
Cooper Kupp.
Kupp's the key.
Kyren Williams, Puka Nacua. The 3 of them are going to have a field day, I think. I could see this being a big Stafford kind of just slinging it. I think Kyren Williams has been so. I'd say, I know people go, oh, well, he's not really underrated. I think he's very underrated because everyone's talking about other running backs this season. Kyren Williams has been a machine. I don't feel like this is an Eagles year. I don't see them in the next week's game. I just think the Rams are going to be that team you talked about an upset. I think I can see this being, the favourites losing at home rather than the Lions. I personally don't see that, but for this game, I think the Rams' offense. I mean, look what they've done to the Bills. I just think with everything that's going on with the Rams, there's a lot of motivation there, and I think McVay's a very good coach. He will use that for his team, and I think that's what they've done against the Vikings as well. You don't sack a QB 9 times. I know the O-line for the Vikings has been brilliant all season. You don't do him 9 times in a playoff game, and then the next game you're not going to touch Jalen Hurts or stop him getting out of the pocket. I could see the Eagles struggling here a wee bit. I'm not saying they will only score points, but I mean, look at AJ Brown last week. How many catches did they have? Was it 1, 2? I don't think it was a lot.
It was reading a book. I know that.
I've seen that book, guy.
So
How to get open.
I think honestly, I'm very on the Rams here.
You're right. Okay. Nah.
Can see it.
I think after last week's performance for the Rams, and again, as I said earlier, obviously that defense, I think a lot of people wouldn't be surprised to see the Rams come out of the link with the win. To be honest, again, obviously we mentioned AJ Brown sitting reading his inspirational books. You can't have another performance for AJ Brown like he did last week. If you want to win this game, you cannot have that. I think you mentioned obviously, Ross, the Texans at the Chiefs being a bit of a snore fest in terms because of how defenses and stuff like that. This is the game where I think the defenses could really take over. As much as I think Texans and Chiefs both elite defenses, we know that. I think you're looking at probably the 2 best defenses in the NFC coming off against each other here. You've got the form team in the Rams, as I said, a young team that have got no respect for anyone, against, as Graham said, the number 1 defense left in the NFC side. And again, they've not got there by accident. Obviously, Vic Fangio is dialing stuff up for these guys. I think that's where I think the defense that causes the most disruption here is going to ultimately come out on top. As I said, Nakobe Dean been out. I think he'll be a massive loss for the Eagles, but does it do so much to take them out of the rhythm that the Rams then start to take over? I'm just not 100% on that one. I am struggling with this one to kind of pick a winner. But we get any more thoughts on this one, guys, or will we go for our predictions?
Go predict.
Go predictions. Go for it. Right. So Graham, let's go then. You start. You kick us off.
Okay, 21-12 to the Eagles. They're going to push it over the line.
Ooh, right. So Ross, you said you're heavily on the Rams, so I think you've got your Rams blue on there. I think we know where your master's getting pinned.
27-20 Rams.
27-20. Ooh, right. So I've got a deciding factor here. Right. Where'd I go? I do think if anybody's going to stop the Eagles, I think it's going to be the Rams. But with it being in the link, I'm going to go with the home field advantage on this one. I think I am going to go with the Eagles, as much as it probably pains me to see. I would listen. If I'm wrong in the Commanders game with the Commanders Lions, I would love to see the Rams going in to play the Lions in the next round. But I just think the Eagles. Again, Nick Sirianni's not somebody that I like either. To be honest, I think I don't know. I would much rather see McVay. I think he's a better coach, but I just think the Eagles are going to steal this one. I'll go 21-17. I'll go on this one for the Eagles. Right. So that brings us on to our last game. We have our final game of the weekend, which is the one that everyone's been raving about. It's our MVP.
No pun intended.
It is the one that everybody thinks is going to have our league MVP in it. It's Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen. These guys have been unbelievable this year. I don't know even where to start on this one. They met earlier in the season, and I think the Ravens just absolutely blasted the Bills out the water with that running game, 35-10. That was in Baltimore, which I will caveat that one with. But Ross, talk us through what you're looking for in this one. Where do you see strengths, etc., all that kind of jazz? Where do you see it?
I can just see this being run, maybe 350, 400 yards of rushing offense in this game combined. It's just going to be run heavy. Derek's unstoppable, King Derek, Lamar and Josh, and then James Cook, and even some of the young boys and the kind of the rookies for the Bills. I think it's Johnson, I want to say his name is. He got a touchdown last week.
Ty Johnson.
Ty Johnson.
He's been about the league a wee bit.
Yeah.
I think he was with the
Jets. It's no Ty. There's another one they've got. There's their third running back's a rookie, I'm sure, and he got a touchdown early in the season. But there's just so many running options. I think the Bills against this Ravens defense stepped up after a poor kind of first half of the season. Since the bye week, the defense has really gone up. I don't really see how Josh is going to have those players to make the catches. I think he needs to really utilise Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox, use his tight ends. Bills aren't really a trick play team, but maybe using some of their big guys from the O-line, getting them into, to maybe be able to receive the ball, or just using them for a flea flick or whatever it's going to be. I just see it one way, and it's going to be purple. I just think the Ravens are. I think Lamar's really good. Would not shock me. I think I don't know. I'm going to say it's Lamar. I don't know though.
Right. So Ray Davis. That's the
Ray Davis is who I meant. That's who I meant.
Yeah. So he's questionable actually, which is what I'm just looking at in the report. Normally questionable does make it, to be fair, so it doesn't really mean anything at this stage. From the Ravens side, the big talking point is obviously Zay Flowers, injured in week 18. I think he could be a big loss for Lamar. Graham, where are you seeing this one going?
I'm with Ross on this. It's going to be so run heavy. Like when they played us on Christmas Day, I can't remember what part of what quarter it was, but it wasn't the first. It took them to get a third down. They just grind those yards out on the ground. And like, if you look at the game against Pittsburgh last week, the amount of disguised running plays they had, and you seen TJ Watt chasing shadows last week, I can see it being exactly the same this week. They've really come into their own, the Ravens, in the past couple of weeks. They seem to have lifted their game at another level. The Bills still a very good team, but it's just that combo, isn't it? And when they have to go to the air, they've got the big bodies of Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. So yeah, I just see it being, they're just big. So yeah, I can just see it being that. And I don't think Lamar will actually go to the air as much as we think. Josh is going to hate to play out of his skin, I think, to see his Bills through this one. Because the Ravens are used to the conditions as well. It's not something they're unused to.
I think something you just said is very interesting. We were talking about time of possession of it. If the Bills go in here like a smash and grab in terms of like the result and treat this like they are not a home team and go and try and really take 40 minutes on the clock for the whole hour, they'll get something, but they cannot allow the Ravens more than 22, 23 minutes. Otherwise, they're just too dangerous.
Yeah.
Do you find that with the Bills, though? Like this year, they've been quick scorers. They hit quick, and then they're off the field. So they have to change that style, don't they?
100. That's how I would look at it. I would go in there and go, listen, you've got to play this a bit uglier. Like, I think the Chiefs Texans is going to be an ugly game. I think this could be a very ugly game. I think apart from the Commanders Lions, I think the other three will be pretty horrible watches. It's a sad indictment, but that shows you the strength of the teams. Because these coming into these 4 games, apart from maybe Detroit going, we're going to play beautiful football. This is going to be exciting and fun. And I think the Bills they're going to have to switch it up a wee bit. They're going to have to, just keep it in play, not out of bounds in it, not 60-yard passes for whoever it's going to be. I'm very intrigued by this one.
Yeah, I do think this one is going to be a bit of a slog. I'm kind of similar to you guys. I think, time of possession, I've mentioned that a couple of times on different games. I think time of possession is going to be key. If you let Derrick Henry get that head of steam up, once you get to that third, fourth quarter, looking at the weather, it's -7 for us over here. So that's, if you're a linebacker, a cornerback, you do not want to see a 200-pound freight train running at you in -7. You are going to make a business decision in that case, and it is not going to be taking down Derrick Henry. Let's be really honest about that. The Zay Flowers one has got me swithering, though. That's the thing. He's been Lamar's guy this year. Rashad Bateman's been good. He's kind of stepped up in some big moments.
Yeah.
I don't know if the Zay Flowers going to have a massive impact. I know that's kind of where I'm really at a coin flip after kind of seeing that he's doubtful for the game. I kind of thought, sitting out last week against the Steelers, I was like, that doesn't really matter. I thought the Ravens would handle the Steelers no matter what. This week, I think you need Zay Flowers for some of the third downs, those kind of things, especially early on, to kind of stay in the field and get that rhythm built up. The defences, I think, will take care of themselves. Ross, you mentioned it. Since the bye week, Ravens' defence has really stepped up a level. These guys, Kyle Van Noy's had an unbelievable season this year for a guy who was sitting on the couch last year by his own admission before he joined the Ravens. Marlon Humphreys, these kind of guys have really taken on the leadership role, taking the steps forward, and then you flip it over to the Bills, and again, their defence it's got that chip in their shoulder. You've seen it last week in the interviews after the game. I do take it with a pinch of salt. They weren't exactly playing a running team in the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, not at all.
You said we couldn't stop the run and this, that, and the next thing. And
it's Javonte Williams. What are you talking about?
Exactly. It's Javonte Williams, Jaleel McLaughlin. It's no Derek Henry.
Yeah.
You guys have got a different level to step up. Josh Allen, again, I've been vocal on this. I think he's probably overrated. The guy's had an unbelievable season, right? Unbelievable season. I'm not a massive fan of him, right? He's in the MVP conversation. He's absolutely earned it. But again, he's no done it at the biggest of moments. Flip side, neither's Lamar. That's the bit that I'm really struggling with. None of these guys have, when they always say, when the lights are the brightest, can you perform? The two of them have frozen the biggest of occasions. For me, albeit there was that divisional game where it was the overtime in that against the championship game with the Chiefs. No, divisional game, I was right enough. Sorry, divisional. The 15 seconds one, which will haunt the Bills.
Yeah.
Josh Allen performed unreal that day. But again, he's still not got to the dance yet. He's still not got to the Super Bowl. So, again, that's where I'm kind of struggling with this one. It's like, yeah, right. Let's wrap this one up then. So, where are we going with this one then? So, Graham, came to you first last time. I'll come to you last, actually, this time.
Okay.
You've not had a chance to potentially break the tie. We'll see where Ross goes. So, Ross, where are you going with this one?
I just want a good game. I just want a good game.
Especially if it's Sunday night into the Monday morning. I want to be entertained.
I'll tell you why. It's my work have their night out on Sunday. And I was moaning about it's an escape room, right? And I was like, that's garbage. I hate the idea of that. I was like, the NFL's on. I'd rather watch that. So I'm ditching it and I booked the Monday off. So I could stay up late and have a wine and watch. So if I don't get a good game, I'll be furious. But I think Ravens by maybe 13. I'd say maybe 33-20 to the Ravens.
Right. So you've got right. I'm going to make Graham break the tie.
Yeah, I knew you were going to do that. Just so facetious.
I've been swallowing. I know where I've picked on my Super Bowl predictor, so I know where I'm with that one. I'm going to go Bills. I think the Zay Flowers things, that's what's kind of swung me, probably. So I've been thinking about it when I've been out walking the dog, when I'm listening to all these podcasts and stuff, and like, Zay Flowers is out, this, that, and the next thing. And I've probably been swayed by the talking heads, but I'm going to go for the Bills to win it. 24-21, I'll go.
And you're only saying that as well because you think you've got a better chance of beating the Bills if you go through and the Bills go through.
But see, at the Arrowhead Invitational, we've beat all comers. I'm quite happy.
Apart from the Bengals.
Right, Graham, break your tie. Where are we going?
Okay, I'll break a tie. I'm going to go with the Ravens because they think they're going to be in the next round, along with the Texans, because they picked up Johnson this week off of waivers after we dropped him, because they're obviously wanting to know what our offense is cooking for when we play them again. So it's going to be the Ravens are going to win it, and I'm going to say 30-17. I think they're going to just be too much for the Bills.
Could be a smart move if the Texans make it.
Yeah, I'm telling you, book it.
I will hope you're wrong at least on half of it. But what I will say, I'm going to throw a caveat in for Mikey Brown. I have made sure the Cru curse wasn't in this game for the Ravens. So if the Ravens do make it, you've got me to thank on that one. Right, guys, so that brings us to an end of the divisional round playoff for this weekend. Some fascinating games, as we've discussed. Thanks to everyone who's joined us. We may have dropped off Instagram because we went by the hour. So what I will say is thanks everyone who joined us on Instagram, even though they can't hear me. Thanks to everyone that joined us on the other platforms as well. So, and obviously give us a like, subscribe, and follow on all your usual platforms. The podcast will be up again on all your usual Spotify's and wherever else you get your podcasts. So nothing left but to say thanks very much to you guys. Obviously, you guys kind of worked around me a wee bit this weekend as well, through refereeing. Well, this week, through refereeing, so as we can get this review out there. So, Ross, first of all, thanks for joining us. As much as it pains you you thought you got away with the review, but I brought it in because we missed it. I do appreciate that. That would have been hard for you, but thanks for joining me, mate.
I thought it was going wide and then it doinked and I had to be there.
I like that, mate. No, thanks very much, man. I appreciate it. And Graham, obviously, late substitution in there tonight. Really appreciate you jumping on. And again, obviously, we mentioned we're rivals this weekend, so it'll be good to get some banter going as well through the game, no doubt. But thanks very much for joining us, man.
No, I appreciate it. No, it was good.
Good man. Again, thanks very much, everyone. And hopefully the review crew will be back at the early part of next week. And I enjoyed the divisional round. We're nearly at the Super Bowl. We're nearly heading to New Orleans. Hopefully we get some good games, and we'll catch you next week. Cheers.